everyone, and welcome back. The countdown has entered its final days. Across Nigeria, political parties are racing against the clock to beat one of the most important deadlines before the 2027 general elections. Candidate lists are being uploaded, alliances are being finalized, and crucial decisions are still being made behind closed doors. Missing the deadline is simply not an option. One mistake could cost a political party its place on the ballot. The biggest question is this: which parties are fully prepared for the July 11th deadline set by the Independent National Electoral Commission? And what do the remaining decisions tell us about the state of Nigeria's presidential race? As the clock ticks towards the submission deadline, the actions taken over the next few days could shape the political landscape long before Nigerians cast their votes. According to INEC's election timetable, political parties have until 6 p.m. on July 11th, 2026 to submit the nomination forms of their presidential and National Assembly candidates through the Commission's online nomination portal. The submission process, which began on June 27th, covers forms EC9 and E9 and EC9A to EC9E in accordance with Section 29 of the Electoral Act 2026. Governorship and State House of Assembly nominations will follow later, opening on July 18th and closing on August 8th. INEC has also scheduled August 1st for the publication of the personal particulars of presidential and National Assembly candidates, allowing members of the public to examine the documents before the election process moves to the next stage. Several major political parties have already moved quickly to comply with the timetable. The African Democratic Congress, ADC, has formally unveiled former Vice President Atiku Abubakar as its presidential candidate, with former Rivers State Governor Rotimi Amechi announced as his running mate. The Nigerian Democratic Congress, NDC, has also completed one of the biggest announcements of the election season by naming Peter Obi as its presidential candidate and former Kano State Governor Rabiu Kwankwaso as his running mate. Both parties have confirmed that the names of their presidential candidates and running mates have already been uploaded to INEC's nomination portal, signaling that they intend to avoid last-minute complications. The People's Democratic Party, PDP, is also making steady progress. According to the party's National Organizing Secretary, Umar Bature, approximately 60% of the National Assembly candidates have already been uploaded to the Commission's portal. He explained that delays affecting the remaining candidates are largely due to the late submission of documents by some aspirants rather than technical difficulties. Out of 460 National Assembly candidates expected from the party, about 169 entries were still pending at the time of his interview. Although he expressed confidence that the process would be completed within the stipulated timeline. Attention, however, remains firmly focused on the ruling All Progressive Congress, APC, and President Tinubu. While Tinubu has already secured the party's presidential ticket after winning the APC primaries, he has yet to formally announce his running mate. Political observers have closely watched his decision because it follows months of speculation regarding the future of Vice President Kazim Shettima. Reports circulated last year suggested that Tinubu's political alliance with Shettima had experienced strains, particularly after an APC Northeast stakeholders meeting in Gombe ended in controversy when some objected to the omission of Shettima's name during endorsement of Tinubu's second-term ambition. Although the APC leadership has repeatedly maintained that The decision rests entirely with the president. The delay has continued to fuel political speculation. Party insiders quoted by The Punch insist that the nomination exercise within the APC is progressing smoothly. According to the senior party sources, nomination forms for numerous House of Representatives candidates have already been uploaded, along with those of several prominent National Assembly members. The party has also reportedly submitted the senatorial nomination forms of Kwara State, Governor Abdulrahman Abdulrazak, Imo State, Governor Hope Uzodinma, and Yobe State, Governor Mai Mala Buni, among others. These developments suggest that the APC's internal nomination process is well advanced despite public attention remaining focused on the unresolved vice presidential announcement. One interesting possibility continues to attract discussion among political analysts. Under INEC's timetable, political parties have until August 22nd to withdraw and replace presidential and National Assembly candidates after initial nominations have been submitted. This provision creates the possibility that the APC could initially submit President Tinubu's nomination with a placeholder vice presidential candidate before later replacing that individual with its substantive nominee. Such a strategy would not be unprecedented. Ahead of the 2023 general elections, Tinubu initially submitted the name of Ibrahim Masari as a placeholder vice presidential candidate before Masari voluntarily withdrew, allowing Kazim Shettima to become the APC's official running mate. Nigerian electoral law permits substitutions under specific circumstances, making the option legally available if the party chooses to adopt a similar approach. Supporters of the placeholder strategy argue that it provides political flexibility while ensuring compliance with INEC's strict deadlines. Major political decisions often require extensive consultations involving regional interests, party stakeholders, coalition partners, and electoral calculations. By meeting the submission deadline first, parties can continue those consultations without risking disqualification. Critics, however, argue that placeholder nominations reduce transparency because voters deserve to know the complete leadership team seeking their mandate as early as possible. They contend that running mates are not merely symbolic figures, but potential future presidents whose identities should be disclosed without unnecessary delay. Beyond individual candidates, the nomination deadline reflects the increasing professionalism of Nigeria's electoral administration. Since the introduction of electronic nomination systems, political parties have been required to upload candidate information directly through INEC's online portal rather than relying solely on physical documentation. The process is intended to improve efficiency, reduce administrative errors, and strengthen transparency in candidate management. It also places greater responsibility on political parties to complete internal nomination processes well before statutory deadlines expire. Political analysts also note that the nomination deadline represents more than a procedural exercise. Once candidate lists are submitted, attention will increasingly shift towards campaign strategies, policy debates, regional alliances, fundraising, voter mobilization, and public messaging. The period immediately following the publication of candidates' personal particulars may also generate legal challenges where opponents question qualifications or documentation submitted to INEC. Nigeria elections have historically witnessed litigation over candidate eligibility. making accurate and timely submissions especially important. Although much attention has centered on the presidential race, National Assembly contest will play an equally important role in determining Nigeria's political future. Control of the Senate and House of Representatives influences legislative priorities, budget approvals, constitutional amendments, and executive oversight. Political parties therefore view successful nomination of parliamentary candidates as essential to achieving broader electoral objectives in 2027. With only days remaining before the July 11th deadline, the pressure facing political parties is unlikely to ease. Every remaining document, signature, verification, and electronic upload carries significant legal consequences. A missed deadline, incomplete paperwork, and administrative error could alter the electoral landscape long before campaigning reaches its peak. By this weekend, Nigerians are expected to have a much clearer picture of the individuals who will contest the country's highest political offices. The formal submission of candidate nominations marks the transition from internal party politics to a national campaign that will shape debate over the economy, security, governance, infrastructure, and the country's future. The race for 2027 is no longer about speculation. It is steadily moving into its next decisive phase. For more updates and in-depth analysis, stay with us on News Express. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I am Cassie Tony, and a beautiful week to you.